Ta-ta. We'll see you later, kid. I mean, John, this is the problem. And you and I have talked about this. You've got to have caps in this NIL somehow, some way. You've got to figure out what should be a number. Let's pick a number and let's just say, and that number can move. I'm not saying it's capped at 20 million and then 5 years from now it's still at 20 million. I think it's got to move and use it like the NFL has done for so many years. And it's why the NFL has done so well, because those at the bottom start to reach up towards the top and blah, blah, blah. And a lot of these teams can do that. And I think a lot of these universities can do that. Right now, as proven by the NCAA basketball tournament, the SEC's got all the money in the world. And who was the dominant team or the dominant group? Well, it was the SEC when it comes to what was going on for the tournament. They had 12 schools, John, make the tournament. And why is that? Well, because they got a hell of a lot of money, and these are all the same schools that used to be able to do this illegally. Now it's easy to do it legally, right? But you know, the kid got up there, and what I love, John, what I truly did love was, and Nico, he's probably a great kid. I got nothing against the kid at all, but I think he was advised to do something he shouldn't have. He stopped coming to practice. He told him, he goes, look, the way this is going to pan out is I'm already making $2 million. You need to pay me $4 million or I'm going to walk. And the good news was Heupel said, you know what? Nobody is bigger than this program. Ta-ta. We'll see you later, kid. And I think that was the right move. And there was multiple other coaches who kind of jumped on board, which they all should, unless they want to deal with this, John. Do they want to deal with guys staying out of, matter of fact, guys that were staying out of playing in the playoff, guys that are staying out of getting some of these spring, practices and all the rest of it and not showing up for the meetings or the practices because you know what? I need to get paid. Well, you know what? Do you really? You're already making $2 million. That's a hell of a lot of money. And I love the fact that they basically said the portal's wide open, jump in over there. Ohio State's supposedly interested, John. Oregon is supposedly interested. I think there's one other school. But you know what? I would love to see this happen. I would love for them to not go over $2 million, just because I think the kid needs to learn something out of this deal. And you know what? I think that it's going to be interesting because he is not he might be one of the first, but he ain't the last guy to try to pull one of these things on their schools. And I don't like it at all.
Well, I have been thinking about a solution, Pete. Now, the biggest solution, of course, is exactly what you talked about with Heupel, and that is have the head coach have some stones and have him basically tell the players, this is the deal. And if you go against what I'm saying, then, like you said, Pete, there's the portal. Go jump in. Water's fine. But what I would say, Pete, is to make it more fair, for instance, for your alma mater, University of Minnesota, who has very little NIL money, very little. You can pull it up, folks. It's not a badge of honor, but with all the big companies that are based in the Twin Cities, them not backing the University of Minnesota and getting the best athletes, that's a little bit of shame, perhaps. But here's what I'd do, Pete. I'd say the maximum that you can take in, and you threw out the number 20 mil, Pete. I'll say that. The maximum you can raise from outside is 20 mil. The rest is that, similar to the NFL, Pete, you have to provide some percentage of your football revenue. How about that? I mean, in the NFL, the way it works, folks, most of you know this if you're sports fans, the players get 51%, I think, Pete, of the TV contract. All right, do something. Doesn't have to be 51%. Maybe it's 15%. Maybe it's 20%. But 15 or 20% of the combination of the TV money and the stadium, the gate, the live gate, if you will. And then put all that together in a pot. Now, all of a sudden, University of Minnesota can compete. They can get those same athletes. And if they're a little shy on the 20 mil side from the private, Pete, that's okay. You still got enough that you could sign a kid like this, not that kid though, but a kid like this, not Nico, but a kid like this. And obviously it's there for the women's volleyball team, the women's hockey team, and all the rest of the great sports that a particular university like the University of Minnesota might have. So again, a percentage of live gate and TV enhanced with some of the private sector money that is thrown at these kids from the Southeast Conference, for instance. Put all that together, now you've got a fairer playing field of people that are getting paid. So I'll just throw that out there, Pete. Maybe I need to write it up.
I like it, John. I totally agree with you. And I've had discussions with the NCAA. I've had discussions with a lot of coaches in college football. And, I feel like all of them have an ability to look at it the way we are, but they are scared to really voice it. And it's too bad that they do that, because the athletic directors or somebody needs to get out there in front of this whole thing and start making a stop. How about this? The tight end for Tennessee. They came up to the starting tight end and they said, "Hey, kid, so what do you think about this?" I mean, he's talking about his own quarterback. He goes, "We have guys who want to be here." End of story. That was it. All he said. We have guys that want to be here. Clearly, this guy doesn't want to be here because there's no negotiation. It's $4 million or bust. So it's interesting, John. All right. Do we want to jump to the Masters and talk about that? I love the hat, by the way. I loved it last week.
Yeah, this is Trippin' Birdies, by the way, folks. It's not a Masters hat. It's sort of an imitator of the Masters logo, but it's a charity. That's why I don't feel bad wearing it, for Dave Matthews Charity, Pete.
Yeah.
The singer-songwriter Dave Matthews. And his charity is called Trippin' Birdies. So that's why I'm wearing this one. But Rory McIlroy, Pete, I was there checking out all the golf and the fun players and everything else. I'll tell you what, Pete, the chairman of Wheels Up was nice enough to come on over to me at their party, say how much. He said, "It's not an option." And I said, "That's right. It's not an option. It's not an option to miss the Wheels Up party or to not join Wheels Up. You got to check that out." Yeah. And I didn't say it to get a free ride. Connell McShane was trying to shame me into saying, "John, you trying to get a free ride on the jet?" No, Connell, I was not. But I was trying to get into the party. And it was great. And Pete, Rory, what a show he put on. Rose played his head off too. Bryson DeChambeau played well, but just not well enough. And when it came down to the playoffs, Rory had it.
Yeah, and I called for Champeau to win, John. I really thought he was gonna, because the circumstances and everything. I think it was Mark and I were talking about it, and I was bringing up the fact that he's a long ball hitter. It was pretty dry. He could get a little bit of a roll, and he really was. He was rolling pretty good until like the last 4, 5, 6 holes. It just didn't quite come together for him. But what a great guy, by the way. The stories about him going out and just walking by a group of guys and saying, "What are you doing?" And they're putting balls around. They're looking at him. They go, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Hi, could you mind if I come and putt with you guys for a while?" I mean, what a great guy. He's a man of the people, as he says all the time. And he's just a first-class golfer. I mean, he really is a real guy. He's not some guy who's, grown up in the private world. He's a guy who has done it all, and he's really, really a lot of fun. But I think Rory might have had some of the most beautiful shots on 18 that I have ever seen. And he had 2 almost in a row of the same type of shot. The one was the main shot to get him there. And then the follow-up when he was, when they were going head-to-head with Rose. I mean, just amazing how close those guys put that ball from a long distance away and dropped it right there, just feet from the flag. I mean, pretty unbelievable, pretty exciting what they can do in front of the crowds that they've got. Like you said, 30 some odd thousand people, unbelievable. And it was probably one of the most historic, I think, that I've seen, just because of the fact that it was extremely close, but B, everybody kind of had their opinions about who was going to be there. There was probably a top 5, maybe top 6 of who was really going to come out of it. And Rory, who'd never won there, finally got it. So he got the green jacket, John.
Yep. Grand slam, Pete.
Yep.
So congratulations to Rory and all of his fans. They were really behind him, Pete. There were, people respect and give, applause to all of the players, really, even the ones that were having a tough day. But the real, feather in his cap is he's won the majors and he's won the Masters, and he put them all together. That's a pretty big legacy for Rory McIlroy.
That is.
So fantastic. The only guy from the UK, Pete, that's ever done it. By the way. I've been some great golfers there, but nobody ever has done what he's done now.